Hello and welcome to SuperCoach Edge for the round 19 review and round 20 preview. Well, Liam, it was a largely uneventful week, wasn't it?
No, I don't know. I thought it was pretty eventful. Tom Browne, moving on.
Oh, that's true.
Leaving us.
That's actually that's a very good point. I love how that's probably the most newsworthy thing to come out of anything related to Tom Browne. Like anything that he could have tweeted.
You reckon
Imagine
he
if
released it himself? Did he break his own news?
I was just about to say, imagine like if he was doing like a play-by-play. You know how he gets really philosophical about things, or like
Yeah.
really deep into things that are really just should be surface level. I was wondering whether or not he was tempted to like do a play-by-play of him walking into his boss's office and resigning.
Yes,
Couldn't
yes, yes,
imagine.
yes. I can just imagine that there would have been like, when there was that kebab situation with the Richmond players up in Gold Coast.
Yeah, it's Stack, Sydney Stack.
Yeah, City Stack and someone else. Was he just gonna be like, oh, I've heard the gift when you leave is this, but like as a watch, but what type of watch? I hope it's this. Like, is he just gonna like go on a complete tangent? But like, what sort of going away cake will I have?
Yeah,
Chocolate is the most important type.
yeah. That was the best about the souvlaki when he's talking about all the kebab. Like, I think he ordered the large kebab.
I think he was like, it was like it's a lamb.
It was filled with lamb and cheese.
And it was like,
and just aside from the point, like of the guys fighting outside a kebab shop, the best. But yeah, that's virtually what it would be like. But an interesting cat nonetheless. But I reckon
sad day.
how fun! Very very. No, well, I think
it's a very sad day.
I think it's a day of celebration. It is a sad day because we do miss out now from now on, depending on what he goes on to next. But we do miss out on those hilarious tweets. So yeah, it is a sad day. In fact, you're right.
Sad day.
Yeah.
Might be like Mark Stevens.
Yeah.
Who just disappeared for about a month and then came straight back to footy.
Yeah, he went to apparently work in politics, lasted like a month, and then
like
came back. And now apparently he's gone back again.
Oh, has he?
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe Dolla Browne's been inspired. But I reckon of all things, it would not surprise me to see him get a job at Collingwood, seeing as though his dad's the El Presidente.
Yeah. Well, did you hear that they're talking about who's like his next, who's his predecessor is going to be, and they're talking about it being Maguire's son, and I was like, nepotism baby, into the second nepotism baby. Just keep it going.
Yeah, just keep it ticking over. Keep it ticking over. But anyway. aside from that, that news, I guess that probably sums up how eventful the weekend was, SuperCoach wise. There was a couple of incidents. I mean, Walsh got injured, unfortunately, and has come out now that he's now missing between 2 to 3 weeks, which isn't good. But for those of us like myself who are down to zero trades, you're a bit more fortunate, Liam. You've got one more up your sleeve that you can use on him. But I'm thankful that it's only minor. But aside from that fact, of course, that was probably the biggest takeaway. Did you hear that I had a ticket to the moon and it wasn't via SpaceX, via Elon Musk? I don't know if we can mention his name here on the podcast anymore because we ended up getting flamed and it's too political, just mentioning his name. But I think we'll get into that in a little bit more detail a little shortly. But I almost reached the moon. Let's just say that. I almost could touch the moon. I was almost on the surface, playing golf, all that sort of stuff. Amazing.
You mean in a studio in downtown New York? I don't know where they actually filmed it. I'm just making that part up. But
yeah,
no one's been to the moon. What are you talking about?
No, exactly. No, that's no one at all. Apart from Cripper last year, he took us to the moon at one stage.
Heli Cryptor.
Yeah, Heli Cryptor. Yes, who could forget?
Yeah, we're going to chat about that. Chat about Damon going to the moon.
Yeah.
But before that, let's kick off with the socials where we are. If you want to follow us, check us out. Keep up to date with the latest news, even if it is a slow week like this one. Some post-match SuperCoach scores and the odd meme or two, you can do so via Twitter at @SuperCoach_Edge, Damon at DamoJ88, myself at Liam Evans_95, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Search SuperCoach Edge Is it even called Twitter anymore? Or is it just called X?
Yeah, I don't know. We're veering
Sorry,
into
just
the he. Maybe we should talk about him as like he who shall not be named.
yeah.
He's like Voldemort. He's close enough.
He's being added to
Um,
Luke Beveridge and
Chris
what
Scott.
was his name? Leon Cameron,
Oh,
Chris
yes,
Scott.
yes. Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, but for different reasons, of course, political reasons, apparently. But yeah, let's maybe just call it X from now on.
Yeah,
Twitter X.
I actually just question. I don't know. Is it called X or is it called Twitter? Like, it's a legitimate question. It's not even me making a joke.
It's such a silly thing. We don't want to be too political here, but it was a soft launch, surely, because there's still the bird on the little icon on the tab on the top. It's still called a tweet when you're tweeting things, and what tweets other than the bird? So I don't know about this whole sort of new brand, or it's not really a rebranding, is it?
No. Yeah. Anyway, I just don't know whether we call it Twitter or not. But
Yeah.
anyway, let's move on before we get roasted. Let's jump straight into it. Kick off with the usual recap in the good, the bad, and the ugly. For those new to our show, in the good, the bad, and the ugly, we roll through some of the more notable and the more forgettable performances across the round and touch on how our own team performed in our head-to-head rivalry as we wrestle for the ultimate supremacy.
You've done it, Liam. You've done it. Exactly. We're wrestling. We're still wrestling. We're still there in the mud. If some people want to think of us like that, if they're tuning in and they haven't yet tuned into the podcast and they have no idea what we look like, just imagine that. Yeah, we're wrestling in mud or jelly.
Again, if you want to find out more about that, hit up Damon's DMs.
Maybe it's just us wrestling on a bed of pies, triple chili pies at that.
Some AMSR.
But ASMR? AMSR.
I never remember.
Who knows? Who knows? Speaking of acronyms and all things letters, though, just going back to talking about the Twitter X before we get into things. I just want to end it on a funny note, because I did see the funniest tweet in relation to this, and it was, I don't know what Elon Musk and the owners of Twitter are expecting of me, but there is no way I'm typing X into the search bar with my wife standing behind me with a good old pre-fill. Oh, classic. Yeah, for those people who have no idea what that means, type X into your own search bar and see what comes up, and see how pure you are. Maybe if you have no idea, then you are the purest of all. Anyway, let's roll into the good, the bad, and the ugly, and let's start it off with the good, of course, and it is one guy who helped me almost reach the moon. I was kind of like, I'm going to call it I did reach the moon, because it was uncharted territory. There and back, and it was the man himself, James Sicily. So the big Sicilian absolutely bounced back, and then some, after a poor showing last week, with a huge score of 171. That's what we all like to see, Liam. That's a little bit better. I think it works out as well, like combined with last week's. What did he score? 50 something, 53 or something. Ends up working out to be, it's like 112 points or something across the 2 weeks. So at least he's kind of, I don't know, it's like Lazarus. It's rising from the ashes.
Yep. I know what you mean. Based off that, we're going to see like a score of like 300 next week if he keeps these trends up. If CD sales, what's the
very good, Liam.
Did you know that disco record sales were up 400% for the year ending 1976? If these trends continue,
let's move on to the bad. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down a notch. Tim Taranto, a score of 91. On the surface, not too bad. Like not the worst. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Like, if, I don't know, you gonna tell me that he scored 91, he was gonna have a bad game and score 91, I'd be like, all right. But considering he was on, I think he was on -5 the end of quarter one. Like, seriously, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Is it kind of like the handicap that you tried to give me in our weekly head-to-head wrestling for ultimate supremacy? That you were gonna, like, every win in our head-to-head from here on out was going to be double points for you?
Yeah,
Is it
exactly.
kind of like a handicap?
Yeah, Tim Taranto was just handicapping himself for some reason.
Yeah, sympathizing.
Handicapping owners.
Yeah.
But a slow start did mean that he has to find himself on this part of the list, despite the fact that I guess a -5 to a 91 in 3/4 isn't bad. But imagine what it could have been if he just had a decent first quarter.
Yeah. Oh, well. But alas, he still scored better than this next guy who's in the ugly. And it's someone who's actually serviced quite well. And he's probably been in the good more than he has been in the ugly. So he's been due. And it is your man, your boy, Errol Goulden. And he had a score of just 66, which just, Errol, it just isn't good enough. It's almost half of what he has been averaging actually for the 6 rounds prior. So we'll want to see a definite bounce back this week. And he has in the past, I think, from memory, where he's actually scored pretty shit. He's come out the next week and he's gone bananas. So,
yeah.
I mean, he scored a 47 back in round 6, came out and scored a 119 the next week against the Giants. And then more recently, he scored a 62 in round 13 and then came out with a 111 against Brisbane. So he's gone on a pretty good run as well, like 164, 124, 143, 117. So I guess he was due for a downer. So maybe just give him a stay of execution for this one.
Oh, definitely. I mean, come on. He's averaging 108.4 for the season.
I think he's...
Remember when everyone told me that it couldn't happen at the start of the year?
Yes, that's true.
He can't go up. He can't average 100.
Yep.
Look at him.
Look at him go. Who would have thought?
Hey, look at us.
Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
Well, Liam, let's get into how both of our weeks transpired. So let me tell you. Let me set the scene. So I ended up scoring a 2,782. So it was really a week of weeks, really, in my history books of playing SuperCoach for 18 plus years, because that almost sent me to the moon. And that score catapulted me 523 spots up the ranks to now sit ranked 492nd overall and gave me a weekly ranking, mind you, of 19th overall for the round.
Very
the
nice.
Absolute scenes. I love how you were invested as well, like across the weekend when...
Yeah, I was literally watching...
on SuperCoach data, you're like refreshing. I was refreshing. It wasn't working. And I'm like, am I going to be the recipient of two grand? Am I going to win the weekly? It was good. It was looking good at one stage until someone that I'm in another league with mentioned, oh no, I saw someone in my league scored a 2799 and like just literally deflated. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. But I think the person ended up scoring over 2,900.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Massive. I mean, it's got to be a record of some sort, surely. Really, really big. So, yeah. But I must say, like, in terms of my team, I have spoken of the top 500 being the dream for me come the end of the season. So to hit it so quickly means I probably should reassess my goals from here on out and maybe reach a little bit higher. But I think at minimum, I would be stoked to keep a spot in the top 500. So I guess looking at numbers and whatnot, the top 100 is only really achievable if I can manage to score an extra 69 points a week on those currently ranked above me. So I might just have to hope for a score like the one this weekend to help me get there. But who knows? It can happen. It can happen. Once in a blue moon. But in terms of the breakdown of scoring, so the big key to my big scoring weekend was using my last trade to bring in Georgie boy, good old Georgie boy Hewitt at the expense of Dev Rob. And as we'll speak about in a little bit more detail when we chat about Hewitt later on, the extra CBAs on the horizon with Cripps and Chera being out, and the fact that he was facing the Eagles, and the fact he would otherwise have been, I would have had to rely on Matt Johnson to fill in for the injured Laird, meant that he was just too hard to resist. He was the fill-in man, and I'm glad I didn't resist because Hewitt actually scored 98 points more than MJ. So, yeah, it would have been
a couple.
Yeah, it would have made a little bit of a difference, I think. So happy enough with that. But aside from that move, every player scored a ton or better, bar Goulden 66, Taranto 91, and Dacos's 99, and had 9 players scoring 124 or better, including Sicily with 171, Doherty 156, Stewart 152, DCam with a 135, and English as my VC lock-in captaincy choice with 134. So You can check out my full analysis of my team's performance and strategy on the run home in this week's edition of Team Talk. That's now live, of course, on YouTube for anyone keen. But all in all, it was a ripping week. And now, with absolute donuts in the trade column, I just pray to the SuperCoach gods for mercy from here on out. So please spare me. Spare me.
First of all, amazing score. Like, very, very good. And I don't even know. Yeah, 19th. You did mention that. 19th for the round. Incredible. I want to just note, you messaged me, I think on Friday, being like, I'm using my last trade. And I was like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
And then you told me what you were going to do. And I changed my mind very quickly. And I was like, yeah, do it. I like it. And I did like it. And I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you did it because...
I reckon it's, I should thank Laird in part, really, because if Laird was playing, I wouldn't have done it. I would have kept the trade and I probably would have seen it, like, even though it's beneficial to have someone like Hewitt on the bench and even more so now with Walshy being out. Yeah. But yeah, with Walshy being out, I think sliding doors is I probably more than likely would have used the trade to trade out Walsh. So yeah, I don't know. Much for muchness, but it did help me on the weekend at least. And, you know, if hopefully Walshy comes back in 2 to 3 weeks, I'll at least have Hewitt as that sort of loophole.
Exactly, I think that's your benefit.
Option. Sort of solid 23rd man. But
yeah,
we'll see how we go. But I should also thank as well, when we're doing the team sheets live stream on Thursday, had Joe, as he always does, the good man from Centre Bounce. He mentioned, he was like, I'm using my last trade on Hewitt. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I was kind of 50-50 on the bench, on the fence. And so he kind of gave me the bit of kick up the anus to get it done. So thank you, Joe. Tip of the cap to you as well, kind sir.
No, I rate it. Yeah.
What about you, Liam?
Onto my side. Yeah, not as well. 2,569 was my end score.
Still good?
Yeah, still good, but
that's all
later.
Don't compare it to because mine's an anomaly more than anything.
Yeah. No. But not even comparing it to yours. I'm frustrated. And we'll touch on this later. We were just talking about the league that we're in.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
The SuperCoach Edge Cash League. And I had the 3rd highest score for the round in that league, which means that, you know, most weeks you would win. But no, of course not. Of course I have to play sharpshooters this week.
Oh, of course.
And he pips me. I think I would have beaten 6 or something 5 other teams had I played them. But no. Yeah. It's not how it works.
I hate how that happens. Like, it's in the leagues, and at least I said this like when we were chatting over the weekend that everyone has at least one league where this happens, where you're virtually almost the highest scorer, if not the highest scorer in the league. And it's almost like you have the most points. Like, there's one league for me where I'm the highest scorer, but I have the 2nd or 3rd most points against. I should be top on points, obviously, but because factoring in the points against and those matchups week to week, I'm in 4th spot and like just on like, I think it's overall points. Otherwise I'd be like 6 or something. So yeah, it's just one of the quirks. Yeah, it's annoying.
It is funny. I have a league that's similar. I think on points against, I'm 2nd. On points for, I think I'm 1st. And then it means that I'm like 8th on the ladder. And it's just like I play everyone in their grand final. But anyway, we move on. So I did score 2,569, which I am happy with. Went up 804 spots and sit 7,469th overall. So not quite like yours, obviously, but I am heading in the right direction, which is nice. I'm not going to go too much into my team because I didn't make any trades. I think at this stage, though, goals, I'm going to try and crack the top 5K by season's end. It's what?
That's
an
doable.
extra.
That's doable.
It's doable, but I don't know.
We already went up 800
we'll
spots.
Yeah,
on the
I just need to
weekend.
keep doing it.
If you do that at the same rate, like, you'll be there within 2 weeks.
The problem is all of my trades that I'm making are not working out for me. So we'll see. But regardless, if I can make top 5K, I think even if I can, as long as I can remain around this mark, I'm pretty happy considering where I was earlier in the season. As I said, I didn't make any trades this week. I've held my one, just holding on to it. Ooh. And I was like, I'm going to hold on to it from a few more weeks, and then Walshy, man, come on, you gotta listen to me. Don't do a hamstring when I've only got one trade left.
Or alternatively, when I've used my trade, my last trade.
Exactly. Anyway, I'll be looking to bolster the midfield. Someone probably looking for a bit of a pod, try and boost me up a little bit, play a bit more risky. I don't know, see what happens, and go from there. But I'm not going to go too much into my side. Other than that,
yep. No, well, fingers crossed that I'm confident that you can crack the 5K. In fact, I reckon you could go closer to 2,500, even halve it even further. I reckon you could.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because from here on out, I reckon a lot of people. It was the SuperCoach data came out with. I don't know if I'll be able to find it now, but it was to summarize. It was like 25% of the top 1,000 are on zero trades. This is like going into the weekend.
Yeah. Okay.
Then it was like another 28% or something had one trade. Another 20% or something had two trades, and then the remainder was like 3 and up. So I reckon a lot of people in the same boat, pretty much as you, more so than me, where they're down to one trade at the moment. And, I guess all those owners of Walsh, if you factor in his ownership, depending on, their cover off the bench, and if they are able to hold, like 13% of his owners are more than likely going to have to trade. If you think maybe half of those, which is, there's 24,000 teams that own him, for example, like he's just one. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think the one thing that's going to separate the cream from as rising to the top as opposed to the rest is those people that go for the pods and those people that choose like I guess pod captaincy options. I think, and that's kind of what I'm leveraging on at the moment with zero trades. Like that's really the only point of difference that I have aside from those point of difference players that I have outright. So that's going to be the differentiating factor, I think, across the board when people are pretty much out of trades. So I think it's with that in mind. I reckon that's why you're a chance to still go up in rank. But you do need a bit of luck as well with injuries, obviously, suspensions, all that sort of stuff. Knock on wood, none of that happens to us. But is what it is.
I hope.
Yeah. Anyway, Liam, let's round out the head-to-head, where of course we're always wrestling for the ultimate supremacy, always. And we spoke of last week that the double points for wins handicap, which we're going to give for yourself, which we didn't really agree on, but I just thought it'd be funny to do. That's pretty much now dead in the water because I notched up another win, but it would have been a massive upset had you actually beaten me with the score that I had. So
if I had somehow won, that would have been that would have felt dirty.
That would have gone in line with what we're just talking about in terms of like when you score really high, you have a good week, and then the person you're playing always like outscores you.
Yeah. Would have felt dirty.
No, it would have been a great achievement. That would have been a mounting of the comeback. But maybe
it wouldn't have been. I don't think it would have been like a win head to head. It would have been a win for both of us almost. You wouldn't care.
Yeah,
you almost don't care if you lose any score like that. But I know what you mean.
Yeah, but when we're talking about the ultimate supremacy, it's high stakes. High stakes.
Matter.
Yeah, but does it always matters? But should we now up the handicap to 3? Every win for you is worth 3 because then there's 5 rounds remaining. That'll give you 15 wins plus the 3 you've already got will give you 18. So you'd be 18 wins to my 16. So
I think we can fairly assume that I will not be winning. If I might win 1 for the rest of the season based off this ratio.
Okay.
So it probably needs to be like 15 points is 1 win, but anyway. Yeah,
maybe not.
We'll see how we go.
Yeah, see how we go. Yeah. All right. Well,
next goal wins.
Next goal wins is literally all it is. It's like we're talking about Auskick rules, no matter who is actually winning. But now, Liam, let's delve into the next segment, of course, and it is The Price is Right.
Show me the money.
Oh! Does that make you feel good just to say that? What you gonna do, Jerry? Show me the money!
Now, for those tuning in for the first time, The Price is Right is the segment where we discuss potential trades, the trade targets from week to week, or whether a specific player under question should even be traded at all. So let's kick it off with the first category of going, gone. Liam, who do we have first up?
First up, we have Will Ashcroft mid-eligible, 510.3k, which I was shocked to see, actually. I didn't realize he had gone up that much. Averaging 84.5 with a break-even of 136. If you do still have the Lions father-son, it is time to move him on. He has done his ACL. We wish him a speedy recovery, but it is a huge blow for the young bloke, which is sad to see. So hopefully he'll come back bigger and better in a year or so.
Yeah, I do hope as well that because I know a lot of people, I've already seen articles come out about him, can he still win the Rising Star? Like, there's only there's 5 rounds to go. I think for me personally, like, unless the likes of a Sheasel or a Mitch Owens or whatnot, who are in contention, do something absolutely spectacular, I think he's done enough. He's had enough of a body of work to be judged upon, like, what is it, 3/4 of the season or thereabouts, roughly, that he's played. That's enough body of work for me to assess upon. Like, is he good enough to win the Rising Star in comparison to the others? So hopefully he isn't discounted overall, because I think personally he should win. I think the games that he's had
agree.
have been standouts.
It's the role he plays as well. Like, it's hard to break into a side like he has.
Yeah,
and then to play such a big role in that role. Plays so well in that role, and to sort of hold that role, I think it's tough for a first-year player.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. But nonetheless, all the best, as you said, to him, because he looked like he might have been the late season resurgence like we saw with Dacos last year as well. So, yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but at least the silver lining for owners is he didn't actually drop in price. He went up 7.4k due to a low break even. So at least now you can trade him to someone around the mark that will be of primo capacity. Let's move on to the next player, and it is Jordan Ridley, defender, priced at 513.2k, averaging at 94.9 with a break even of 70. And yes, yet again, the Riddler roller coaster, it rolls on. This time he's done a quad after some knee bruising a couple of weeks ago. He's done, unfortunately, for the season proper, as Essendon have come out and said. So it's really time to move him on if you've still got him. So again, he's still around a better price point that you could, hopefully, if you've got cash in the bank, trade him up to someone of worth around about like a Sinclair potentially, or a Doherty, or guys like that, or maybe even swing a DPP if you can. But a bit unfortunate there, especially for those people that traded him out, traded him back in, traded him out, traded him back in. You did it once over?
I traded him in, traded him out, traded him in, and then traded him out. So 4 trades on one player.
Woo! I'm sure you're not alone there.
I wonder why I'm doing so well this year.
I only did it once with him. But I was very, very tempted to bring him back in. So again, just comes down to luck. You can't plan for that. So it's just unfortunate. And he turned his season around. He was killing it.
It did.
He scored what?
Even 136 on the weekend, I think it was 136 or 135, something like that. It was a late quad, so managed to play out most of the game, but unfortunate. Moving on, Sean Darcy, ruck eligible, 553.8k, averaging 105.5 with a break even of 85. And if it wasn't already obvious to trade him, it is now, after Fremantle have confirmed that Hodor requires surgery on his ankle and will miss the remainder of the season. The door has shut on season 2023 for Hodor.
Very good. The door has shut, and he's laying up against it. He's like just defeated, a defeated man. But although I wonder, poor Hodor, exactly right. The door has shut. That's very good by you. I like that. I wonder now, like, because he's no longer like there holding the door. That was part of the reason why I broke into the top 1K in the style that I did. I absolutely burst it down. So maybe you just can sit down on the couch, Hodor, this time. Watch some Game of Thrones. Be very meta of him. Let's round it out with Nat Fyfe, of course, mid forward, that man who I became really acquainted with at the start of the season and never again. He's priced at 313.1k, averaging a 50.7 with a break-even of 60. So like Darcy, Fyfe will unfortunately miss the remaining 5 games of the year and will operate as nothing more than a DPP loop. but given his higher price tag, he is an easy downgrade to a rookie if you need the cash, or swap to a more reliable and cheaper option as bench cover like a Georgie Hewitt, perhaps, who we'll speak of shortly.
Yes. Now let's move on to the chopping block. And again, the difference here is these are guys that you could trade out, you could hold. It really comes down to how you are situated and where your trades are and all that kind of stuff. So first up, we got your boy Damon, Sammy Walsh, mid-eligible, 535.9K, averaging 104.1 with a break-even of 113. And he was on fire on the weekend, but was before succumbing to a hamstring injury just before halftime. It's only a minor grade hamstring, though, so should only miss 2 to 3 weeks, according to the club. But it should be noted that equates to 40 to 60% of the rest of the season. And at a stage that's incredibly important as we head into SuperCoach finals. I obviously own him. I have trades. I'll be moving him on. He's not going to return until round 22, round 23. I don't know. Clayton Oliver's also made me think anyone that has a hamstring is going to be out for 20 weeks.
Oh, no.
But that being said, as we said, it's the second and third week of SuperCoach finals before he's back, which is the semi and the prelim. I think, though, the reason he's in this section is if you have one trade left, I feel like if you had one trade left and you'd kind of done what you had done, Damon, where you've brought in Hewitt, you could almost hold him with Hewitt playing. If you do have the cover and reliable cover, I don't mind holding Walsh until he comes back if you want to hold a trade, but it's a lot of cash to be holding on your bench at this stage of the season. While, it's going to be at minimum 40% of the season to come.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I'm pretty blessed. It's a silver lining, I think, in my case with Hewitt in my team, because I liken it to, I don't know if anyone tuning in at the moment play NFL fantasy, but it's like they talk about the correlation between the quarterback and the wide receiver. Like the wide receiver only scores based upon how the quarterback performs. So obviously the quarterback throws to the wide receiver, catches it, and there's like a positive correlation there scoring that are sort of linked. This is kind of a similar situation with Hewitt and Walsh. With Walsh being out, Hewitt's CBAs then elevate, and his job security is already solid. But as we saw on the weekend, he was taken over Matt Kennedy's CBAs, who's pretty much out for the season. But now with Walsh being out for that period, at least the uptick in scoring, or the scoring you'd lose from Walsh, is then sort of taken up by Hewitt in turn. Which, again, we'll get into a bit more detail when we talk about Hewitt. But I think it still bodes well. Even, I know Cripps and Chura were out on the weekend. I still think without Walsh being there, Hewitt's now going to be almost the third fiddle in the engine room. So there will be a bit of correlation. They're similar to when we talk about, if you've got, what was it last year when it was Maxi Gawn and Luke Jackson, when Gawn was out, and people were jumping on Luke Jackson because there was correlation there. He was going to pick up the scoring whilst Gawn was out. So it's a similar sort of, scenario here with Hewitt and Walsh.
Yep, makes sense entirely.
Well, let's move on. Speaking of ruckman, to Kieran Briggs. Of course, a ruck priced at $499K, averaging a 105.1 with a break-even of 118. So he finds himself here again as 4 of his last 5 scores have actually been sub 100. With that being said, he faces the Bulldogs, Sydney and Port in his next 3 games, all of which give away plenty of points to opposition ruckman. But it really does come down to what trades you have and why he really finds himself in this segment. Because otherwise, must say a juicy solo ruck at the moment anyway, in Gawn is almost too hard to resist as the alternative to
So to set you back a little bit, sorry, Briggs to Gawn is going to set you back a little bit more now.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
But I don't mind it. I think it's just hard with Flynn in the wings every week, waiting to take on Briggs's role. And but I suppose equally you've got Grundy and Gawn.
True.
But yeah, I think Melbourne have looked a bit different without Grundy, unfortunately for him.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't realize that Gawn's actually gone up, went up another 41.9K on the weekend. So, yeah, you'd have to spend over 100K to upgrade Briggs to Gawn. So, yeah, maybe that's shooting for the stars, because I don't imagine many people would have that sort of cash in the bank.
Unfortunate. Let's move on now to the fun part. Get them in. First up, we have none other than James, the Sicily.
Yeah.
Defender eligible. 643.6K is what he will set you back. He is averaging 113.6 and he has a break even of 142, but you should get him in. It should really go without saying, if you do have the funds and you're in the market for the absolute cream of the crop, look no further than the Sicilian himself, who reminded us all of his scoring ability with a score of 171. He more than bounced back from his tagged game the week prior against North. I also love that North didn't tag Sinclair.
Yeah, it made no sense at all. No sense.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, just side note.
Yep.
He did score 58 in that game. But aside from that game, he has scored 134, 134, 172, 136, and now 171 in 5 of his past 6. And we ignore that 58 means nothing. Yep. Better yet, though, he faces St Kilda this week, who concede the most points to opposition defenders, the very team he scored 172 against last time, and just, gave a little clip to Caminiti.
Yep.
And
please don't do that.
Found himself on the outer again. So please replicate the score, but not the not the suspension.
Yeah, please do.
But with an ownership of just 15%, which was at around 30% at its peak, he presents as an uber pod. And with his type of scoring, it could truly be the ace up the sleeve that could catapult you up the ranks and win you crucial matches in your head-to-head leagues. Get on it.
Yeah, and there's a double-edged. I guess there's a double-edged sword, because not only are you getting someone who's an uber pod, and he's an uber primo, so you're going to get, like, it's not just like a simple pod of someone that has a high ceiling here and there. The floor can fall away. This is a guy with a high floor, high ceiling, the sort of scores that you read out there that he can produce. But then also on top of that, the fact that you're able to captain him or put the VC on him means that your level of pod factor with him is just to the moon.
Yeah.
To the moon, to borrow that phrase yet again. I think if you can get him in 100%, like with guys that have gone out, got injured, all that sort of stuff.
It's hard though, with that cash.
It is very hard. That's what we spoke of weeks ago, didn't we? Like, in terms of when he did get suspended.
You really needed to forward plan for him.
Yep. And I'm lucky enough that I did, and I was able to, because I had 100K left in the bank, just burning a hole in my pocket and just held out and resisted temptation across the board. But yeah, I think there was something like, I think it was like, was it 6 teams or something in the top 100 ended up having him like 2 weeks ago. Now it's up to, I think it's around about 20 out of, it's like 20% out of the top. So 20 teams out of the top 100 have him now. But even just looking at his ownership kind of gives you, just comparing it from the round just gone to the week prior, you can really tell off the basis of that people are either struggling for trades or struggling for cash to upgrade to him, because round 18, he was selected by 28,692. And on the weekend, his ownership only went up by 240 teams. So, and that's off the back. I mean, he scored pretty shit, but you know what you're going to get with Sicily. He was being tagged. There was a reason for it. But I think that just shows that, small sample size, obviously, but it does show, I think, that people don't have the cash to bring him in, or they're reluctant to use 2 trades in order to fund the trade in of Sicily. So again, that just speaks to that pod side of things, that people are going to find it incredibly hard to get him in. And again, if he scores as well as what he did last time, looking at SuperCoach Plus, his break even is, yes, as you said, 142 this weekend. If he's projected to score, if he reaches his projected score of 147, the break even for him the following week against the Pies will be 54. And if he scores a 129 as he's projected to there, he'll go up to 679.7K. So he's kind of, the price is just getting away from a lot of people. So if you want to get him, despite the high break even, this is the week to get him, I think, with that matchup.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is the matchup. The matchup's the big thing here. And I think at this stage of the season, you almost need to ignore the prices where you can, because waiting a week is going to cause a lot less points overall.
Yep.
It's not like, 10 weeks ago where, a score of 130, which might be, 60 points more than his, whoever you would trade him to, who you've got in place of him across, whatever, 15 weeks, smooths out to not many points per week. But right now, if it's the difference between, I don't know, if you're having to field a Weddle or what's his name, Seamus, or anyone like that, it's a big price difference.
Yeah, it's a massive difference, isn't it? That's a good way to look at it as well. That I don't know if it's the stage of the season now where you should be playing the numbers game when it comes to break even anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's either you've got the cash or you don't, I think, at the moment. Because as you say, the likelihood of him scoring high again, especially against St Kilda, it's too hard to pass up, I think, because if he does score high again, you've missed out on those points. And as we always say, like, trading in a play off the back of a good game, you don't get those points in that given week. Like, it's from how they score from then on. So with every passing week, I think you've just got to get him in. If you really want to catapult ahead of the competition, whether it's overall or in your league. So yeah, as you mentioned as well, like, he's a big ace up the sleeve, 100%. Well, let's move on to the next option, and it is Sam Docherty as a defender midfielder, priced at 562.9K, averaging a 103.5 with a break-even of 81. And the Doc, he was a huge beneficiary of various factors, really, which saw him garner season-high CBAs to the tune of 58%. The first factor was the absence of both Cripps and Chera, and this was further boosted once Walsh left the game with that hamstring injury. And this saw him smash out a season-high score of 156 against a hapless Eagles outfit. And with Walsh confirmed to miss 2 to 3 weeks, it means his chance of obtaining decent CBA time increases, even with the return of Cripps and Chera, albeit, as I spoke of earlier about Hewitt, he's probably fourth fiddle, I think, but likely more of a chance of having higher rotations through the midfield, as we saw on the weekend. And with an ownership of just 10%, he presents as relative pod compared to the more popular Stewart, Dawson, Sinclair, etc., and could prove a solid pod or pod play to get the edge of your head-to-head league opponents, as well as climbing the ranks.
Yes. I think he's a great pick if you can get him DPP, all that kind of stuff. Super handy, and should benefit from Walsh being out for another week, you'd think. Should benefit for the next couple of weeks, at least 2, potentially 3, with Walsh being out. Sorry, I'm just having a look at Carlton's fixture. So they play Collingwood, St Kilda, Gold Coast. I think I'm still a week there. Melbourne, Gold Coast, and then
the Giants.
The Giants, yes. Okay, interesting run. Tough one to. I don't think there's any correlation there. Probably St Kilda maybe, but it just depends on where he lines up. But yeah, I like it. I'd really rate getting Docherty in if you can afford him.
Yeah, I think it's also. So just quickly as well, just to that point, how we spoke of late last year when Docherty was getting some extra CBAs off the back of Walsh being injured?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a deja vu situation here because round 22, round 23 last year, he had 75% CBAs and 88% CBAs. Obviously not that high on the weekend, but he scored a 121 and a 138 in both of those games. So a little bit of a small sample size there, but it does give a bit of an insight into the extra, boost to his scoring he can have.
Yeah. And I assume, you can kind of almost probably assume that the 156, was it?
Yeah.
There's a bit of what's the opposite of a tax? A subsidy by playing the Eagles on any scoring. But even then, I think if he can manage, like you said, 120s, average 120 for the rest of the season, that's a win. It's a win for that position and for that DPP. Could be a nice little move from Walsh to him if you have the cash.
True, yeah.
Moving on, Jack Steele, mid-eligible, 553.9k. He is averaging 97.8 with a break-even of 54. And he has come back with an absolute vengeance. Now, there's two correlations here. Well, there's not even two, just one. Literally, the week I traded him out. So he failed to ton up between rounds 11 to 16, which I think is all of the weeks that I owned him. He's gone, since then though, he's gone 140, 105, and 160. One of those scores adds up to all the scores that I had him for like 10 weeks, I reckon. Anyway, it's really come off the back, looking at his numbers, solid tackle numbers, and an increase in his disposals. And on top of that, he's really just increased his time on ground. He had 87% on the weekend, which is much higher than what we've seen. 77% the week before, 85% the week before that. And that rounds out with his uptick in scoring. And he, but when you compare that to the 3 weeks prior to those, those stronger scores, he had 76%, 68%, and 77%. So you can really see that he's obviously now fit.
Yeah.
Something he wasn't when I was in my side.
Likewise.
He is cheap as chips at the minute. An easy trade from Sammy Walsh if you do have the cash. It's only 20 odd K. Not even.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep.
I'm ready to be heard again myself.
Please do it. Please do it. We do love Jack Steele. We speak of him so highly.
But I feel like I said like 2 weeks ago he's on my never again list. And he's on my again list now.
Yeah. Well, you know what I've been saying about Fife, what we've both been saying about Fife what happened to me when I started him this year. So never say never. That's what I've learned in 2023. But yeah, sometimes it's only good to go back to the well on certain players, and it's definitely not. I've learned across the journey so many times with Fife. But yeah, I like it. I like Jack Steele. He's I still harbor a bit of a flame for him, you could say. SuperCoach wise, he's physically as well. He's a good looking bloke, that's for sure, and good footy player. But
I'm done with him.
You're done in your burn book
until bloody Friday night when I trade him back in.
Please do it so I can ride the wave with you. Please do it. He's back. I'm sure he's back. He looked really good. I watched.
He has looked really. That's the thing. He's looked really good the last 3 weeks after I traded him out. Nothing has changed other than I traded him out.
That's the one link. You're the link in the chain there.
I trade him back in, and he's going to be like, "Oh no, my Achilles is snapped. My shoulder is broken again." And I'm concussed because I
knock on wood, please don't happen.
Fell over.
Because I fell over at the same time. Concussed,
he's going to tackle someone and he's going to get suspended for like 6 matches.
Oh yeah. Actually, I'm surprised, knock on wood, that it hasn't happened to him given the amount of times that he tackles a game.
Yeah, you are right.
Oh. Nah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Let's move on to the next candidate, and it is that boy, Georgie Boy Hewitt, who we've spoken about a lot already. Midfielder priced at 292.5k, averaging a 71.5 with a break-even of -36. So we'll be in hot demand this week. So Georgie Boy, he punched out a 127 on the weekend and proved himself a worthy trade-in candidate with stars aligning, really, on the weekend, with the side missing Cripps and Shearer equating to added CBAs, along with Walsh, of course, injured in-game, and the fact that he was facing an Eagles side that was, conceding bulk points to opposition teams across the park. And despite increasing in value 32.7k, he's still extreme value considering he's 320.8k cheaper than his starting price, with the depreciation in his value due to being played as a sub for 4 consecutive weeks upon return from a concussion sustained against the Swans. On the weekend, Hewitt was given 73% CBAs, and as already discussed with regards to Doc potentially benefiting from the absence of Walsh in terms of extra CBAs, this applies even more so to Hewitt, given he is now virtually third fiddle in the engine room behind Cripps and Chera. So he will be expected to, pick up the slack even when Cripps and Chera return. His ownership did rise from that big fat donut of 0% or 800 odd teams heading into the weekend to now sit at 2% or 2.8K% of teams now having, or 2.8K teams having him in their side. So goes without highlighting how much of a pod he is at the present time and a worthy player for on-field cover off the bench if trades allow, which, as we spoke of in terms of Fife, that'd be a downgrade to Georgie Boy Hewitt. Unfortunately, he doesn't have DPP like he did last year, but I think, as I can attest to, provides ample cover. And as we spoke of with regards to Walsh, that's a positive correlation there in his upticking scoring should be, sort of front of mind, I think, in terms of around about that price point if you're looking for cover.
Agreed. I rate it. I think with one trade left, that's my only issue. One trade left in Walsh. Unless I was going to go, I could go a Wardlaw to him and then hold Walsh.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question to you. If you're in that situation, I mean, that is banking on Walsh returning within 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's my concern, I think.
I must admit, because I was at the game live and I was like an eagle, like a hawk. I was watching him after the team song started playing and everyone went up and applause and I went bananas. I saw him, he was wearing full tracksuit, no ice on the hamstring, which is a good sign. Didn't look to be, hobbling badly. So I'm like, okay, well, the strain must have been minor, which it's turned out to be via the scan. That's me just putting my doctor's hat on when I was at the game. And I think he's like an ultra professional, like in terms of his rehab, everything he's gone through previously. I think he returned ahead of schedule in his previous injury that he had to his foot. So I am a little bit confident that he's going to be returning around about, as they say, 2 to 3 weeks. If it's just a minor strain. But again, it's just that worry, that stupid Piggy Oliver in the back of my mind thinking, it's a hammy, could be a setback, could be this, could be that. I'm in a perfect situation in the fact that it's out of my hands and I've already put myself in that situation. But it would mean that you hold a primo with Georgie Hewitt being the 23rd man in Hewitt. Whereas, do you just bite the bullet and go upgrade a Walsh to a genuine?
Yeah, to a Steele or a Doherty.
Yep, Took Miller, all that sort of stuff.
Took Miller. Yep. It's a tough one. It actually is really a tough one because when you've only got one trade left, I think that's where your concern lies. In a sense, it's frustrating as well because it's not like Walsh is missing with he's tackled someone and is, missing a week. Suspended and you're like, okay, he's going to come back in fine. But equally, by going to, I don't know, it's a lot of questions because it's like if you go Wardlaw to Hewitt, you're banking on Walsh coming back in a sense. Which I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be as bad, touch wood, I think we're all just scarred from Oliver. I don't know. Well, gonna have to think about it. To think about it.
I do think back to just briefly, like Josh Kelly, he did a hamstring and he's renowned for soft tissue injuries and getting injured all the time. He's come back successfully from a hamstring. So it's like, it is doable, but I think, you're totally right. It's just we're all scarred from Clary. But it could make Walshy a bit more of a pod, if anything, with a lot of people trading him out. I must admit, it was only against the Eagles, I know that, but he looked like an out-and-out superstar. Like I was reminded of glimpses of a Judd spinning out of traffic, ball over the head, evading tackles. He looked absolutely incredible, like the best I've seen him play all season. bar the game against, what was it, Freo, I think it was, potentially, where he was best on ground. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, he's in 12.8% of teams at the moment. If a bulk of people are trading him out, it makes him a pod via that. Do you gift yourself another pod with that? But he's not performing to the level of a decent primo. That's the other thing to keep in mind as well. So, I don't know. It's a tough one.
I don't know. Oh, something to ponder. To ponder. Let's move on to the next guy on the list, and it is LDU, Luke Davies Uniacke. Obviously plays in the midfield. 586.5k is what he will cost you. He is averaging 112.1 for the season and has a break even of 76. Now, we spoke about him last week, and he cannot be ignored after another strong showing. Since his return from injury, LDU has gone 94, return game. We'll give him that. 134, 129, and 133, and he has increased 92k in price across that period. Equally as pleasing, though, is his CBA numbers have settled at the early season highs when he busted out the 143 and 155 in his opening games. With 72%, 81%, 86%, and 82% as well. Of course, he comes with that injury risk that we spoke of last week. With his rate of scoring and form, it is a risk worth taking, especially as a pod, considering he's at just 8% of teams. That could give you a bit of an edge over the competition. It's just hard. I feel like when you've got one trade left, you really don't want to use your last trade on an injury-prone player.
No, yeah, exactly.
So one thing to consider there, but again, I think the uptick in scoring, it's going to be positive. Basically getting someone, hopefully, looking at his last 3 weeks, he's got a 3-round average of 132-ish?
Yep, roughly.
Quick maths. But really, the cherry on top here is, guess who he faces this week? Yes.
We're the Eagles. The West Coast Eagles.
Enough said. Get him in. It's almost as good as James Sicily facing the Saints.
Yep. And he scored 143 in round 1 against them as well. So
yeah,
he could go absolutely bananas again. Absolute juice. 100%. Stick a straw in it. Slope away. I like it. Well, this next guy, I might hand it over to you because you've listed him here, and I like it. I've just done a little bit of quick research as you were rolling through LDU, the good old UDL. But this next guy, a decent pod, and for good reason.
I've even looked at what percentage of teams he's in, and it's just no, he's a pod. And he is from the Giants. His name is Mr. Sam Taylor, and he is priced at 523.4k. He's obviously a defender. He is averaging 90 on the dot with a break-even of 51, and he is in 1% of teams. But when we look at the percentage of teams picked, it's actually 0.6%. So very, very, very big pod. So he is, option for you as a pod. For those that like them, we like a pod here at SuperCoach Edge. Taylor, though, has had a nice little uptick in his scoring in recent weeks with scores of 118, 117, 130, and 121. Obviously, the risk is whether he holds up that scoring for the rest of the year. His increase in scoring, looking at his stats, has really come off the back of an increase in disposals and an increase in his marking. So we can probably say that he's got a bit of a better role. The risk, though, is before his run of hundreds, he scored 240s in a row, and there's some scores of 60, 70s, a 90, and a 115. So, hasn't necessarily got a great floor.
Yeah. And he only scored a few tons last year as well. I think he was All-Australian last year as well, but he, in terms of the games to come as well, I was looking at that. He's got the Bulldogs up next, who concede to opposition defenders, general defenders.
Yep.
By far and away the most, like ridiculously so.
I mean, look at Ridley on the weekend, 135.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it was Ridley. I'm pretty sure Laverde scored about 130 as well.
Yep.
So, could be some nice uptick there.
Yep. Then he's got Sydney. Don't really concede too many points, but he's got Port Adelaide after that, likewise. Essendon, who have been conceding some points to defenders. They've kind of cleaned it up a little bit. Sort of more high defenders pushing up onto the wing more than anything, but they have been. And then Carlton as well. I think, yes, they concede a few points to defenders as well. So, yeah, he might be an option. Fraught with danger, of course, though, being what key position defender, that sort of player potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, one that can take an intercept mark.
Yeah. But he's a Tom Stewart. Yeah, potentially like a bit of a Tom Stewart type.
That's where I'm thinking, looking at just the increase in his stats, I do wonder whether he's playing that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like 10 marks on the weekend, 6, 8, 1 is really the drop off. And then it was 3, 3, 8, 7, 5, 9, 3. So yeah, a bit of an uptick in recent weeks. And then in terms of disposals, kind of quite a lot higher than what they had been.
I wonder if he's taken that role that, Himmelberg had last year.
Yeah.
Himmelberg's still busting at 80s, 90s, thereabouts. He hit the ton on the weekend. But I wonder if he's kind of like more gone into that role, just picking it up with intercept. Yeah. But nonetheless, as you mentioned, he is a pod if you are looking for an Uber pod, which he is at that. So Liam, let's move on to the next segment. And I don't know if you've got it handy there.
I do have it handy.
That is your hook and eye patch and peg leg.
No, I'm changing what sort of captain I am this week.
Oh, okay. A nice captain.
Despite the fact that my captain's hat does have an anchor on it, we're going to take a seat in the flight lounge before we head onto the plane, and I'm going to be the captain speaking. This is your captain speaking.
Speaking. Very good.
I am the captain now with my double hat today. But no, what does a plane doesn't really make a noise, does it?
No, but maybe you can install like a horn on your plane. Yeah,
nice little toot toot.
Over the intercom. You just be like, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking, Liam Evans. Toot toot.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Ian, I'm the captain now. We chat about VC and C options that you've got for this upcoming round of SuperCoach. As always, we scrounged through the data and we found the best options for you to consider. And we're going to kick off Friday night lights at the MCG. Vice captain options, Damon, your mob, up against the Pies, Friday at 7:50 p.m. And I'm excited because I'm going to be joining you for that game.
You are indeed. I only got alerted of that, and I forgot to mention it to you pre-show. So yes, glad to have you along for the ride. Who will you be going for? That's a question. As a rival fan, as many listeners would already know and viewers of the Dons. So you're kind of, or are you on the fence? Are you just an impartial observer?
I feel like I'll be an impartial observer. I feel like I was always taught that when Collingwood and Carlton play, you just hope they beat the shit out of each other.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's literally it. All right.
But
I do have some spare merch I can give you. I can give you a hat. I can give you a scarf. I can deck you out. It'll burn you, no doubt. But
there's this level of like, I don't want Collingwood to win, but I like the way they play. And I like Craig McRae, but I also don't want them to win. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
You know what? I'm just a Craig McRae fan.
Yes, as am I. As I can say firsthand. Because I worked with him and he's a really nice bloke. But Collingwood as a whole, if I removed like him, the hatred level just goes up.
Yeah, exactly.
But
see, I don't even think the hatred level goes up. I feel like the hatred level remains constant. I just like Craig McRae.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's true. I still love to see them lose.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed, 100%.
Yeah, which is funny. Like, I start looking back. I still can't believe that I worked there. For those people tuning in, they probably already know this, but when I worked at Collingwood, that's how I met Craig McRae, and he was actually the first person that I met when I was out on the training field filming training. He was nice enough to come over. He saw that I was probably packing my DAX, came over, introduced himself, and had a bit of a brief conversation with him. Like, where'd you come from? All this sort of stuff. Super nice dude, and that's what I love. Like the nice, one of the nicest guys in footy, and really, really nice bloke. So, go Craig McRae, and Collingwood, you can just get in the bin because none of the players that I liked that I was there with at the club are no longer there that I like. So, yeah, probably speaks to some players that are still there that I don't like.
I'm not going to ask any questions.
Yes.
Not on air.
Let me just say one had his milestone game on the weekend. That's probably a bit of a dead giveaway. He was gifted a goal by Jamie Elliott, who I like. I don't know if you saw.
No, I didn't see much
He's
of that game.
the vice captain. I think he's the vice captain.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, came from GWS.
Yeah.
I think I should just say his name. It's Taylor Adams. I've given it away. Various reasons. But anyway, let's move on. All the best, Tay, if this comes through to you. But yeah. First up, we have Nick Dacos.
Yeah.
In his last 4 against the Baggers.
He's got 103.
Oh, sorry, 3. What an idiot. Oh, sorry, let's say 4 because maybe you can technically call one of those a 0 because he didn't take the field. He scored a 159 and 81 for an average of 80. But goes without saying with Nicky D, gee whiz, little Nicky, he is absolutely killing it. So I think he should be spoken in terms of vice captaincy options, almost near the top of the list because ripping form, 132, 149, 139 and a 130 prior to the 99 on the weekend. When he was actually tagged to the best of their ability of a tagger doing a roll on him, dating back to when Keys had a roll on him. So Willem Drew, just tip of the cap, mate. But the tag was actually removed in the last quarter, which is just absolutely astounding. So Hinkley just punching the bongs. You'd think there's no other reason why. That's just the dumbest move.
I don't get why they do it, but I feel like every week,
in front as well. Like, what are you doing? Why change things?
But I also just feel like every week Dacos has like a clear run in the last quarter.
Yeah, always comes back. Like that's probably speaks to his endurance and ability,
of course,
just perseverance. Like it's good.
But also, I just feel like what happened on the weekend, they just changed. Like teams just decide, oh yeah, last quarter's here, we're not going to have a run with roll. Like it makes 0 sense.
They didn't need to change anything. Like the formula they had for the first 3 quarters was working. They were in front. Like why do you need to change anything? Like unless Collingwood find an opening and you need to adjust. Like, but until then, just makes no sense anyway.
Yeah. On the other side of the field, though, Sam Doherty, your Bob, your Bob, your mob. I want to say your boy and your mob at the same time. He has a 4-round average of 4-game average of 116.25 against the Pies, with scores of 135, 107, 138, and 85. And that 135 came from earlier this year.
Yep. Very, very good option, I think, and a pod one at that. Let's move on to the next game, and it is Collingwood. Oh, sorry, Collingwood. They're on my mind now. Next, I'll be saying it's Taylor Adams up against Freo. No, it is Geelong up against Freo at GMHBA on Saturday at 1:45 p.m. And first up, we have Tom Stewart in his last 4 games against Freo, has scored 91, 187, if you don't mind, 102 and an 89 for an average of 117.25. So, he is someone to look at very, very closely. And Freo, actually, they don't concede too many points to opposition defenders. So, a bit of an anti-correlation there. But Liam, any thoughts with regards to Tom Stewart?
I don't know. GMHBA.
Yeah, I guess that's very true. That's true.
I don't know. It's that. That's the only thing. What did he score on the weekend? 152.
152, yeah.
Was that a GMHBA?
I think it was.
Of course it was.
Oh, no, wait, so it wasn't. Was it the Gabba?
No, it was at the Gabba. Oh. So his last scores at GMHBA, 104, 124, 111, 138, 99, 111.
Okay.
So this year, not really as strong a hold on it, really.
No, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. Not sure. Moving on, though. Andy Brayshaw, 134, 77, 97, 136. Those are his last 4 scores. And that comes out to an average of 111 against Geelong. And that 134 earlier in the season. So if you do have him, bit of a pod captaincy option as well.
Mm. And another one who is a bit of a pod, and probably more so, is Luke Ryan in some good form, of course. His last 4 against the Cats have been 84, 62, 92, 118, and an 89 average that comes out to. So, he'll be a big pod.
Yes. And let's move on to the next game. GWS and the Western Bulldogs, 1:45 p.m. at Mars Stadium in Ballarat. When I wrote this into the run sheet, I just written Mars, and I was like, wait. I can't just do that, because when we get to it, I'll be like, why are they playing this game on Mars?
Yeah, that's my next destination. I've headed to the moon, and my next stop is Mars.
Yeah, it's where Bontempelli is going.
Yeah.
Especially when you take a look at this average.
Oh.
127.75 in his last 4 against the Giants, with scores of 164, 120, 100, and 127. And that 164 was from earlier this year.
Oh, gee whiz. And an average of 127.75. So I think he, again, like on the weekend, he was a nice VC candidate. And he, again, is very much so. So I like it. Now I'm kicking myself that I actually chose him as my captain option last week, Liam, because I can't get him again. But let's move on to the next guy. It is Tim English, and in his past 4 against the Giants, he scored 124, 110, 88, and a 76 for an average of 99.5. Again, he's just punching out scores left, right, and center that are captaincy worthy. In his past 5 games, 133, 127, 130, 173, 134. So, yeah, recent form just indicates he's going to go large again. Against Briggs. Briggs is he's proved his mettle a little bit, but
different again, very different ruck styles.
Yeah.
Like Tim English, more that new age kind of around the ground possessions.
Yep.
Briggs a bit more the Mumford style, I'd say.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah, a bit more old school. So we'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next game it's the Keach Gold Coast up against Brisbane, Saturday, 4:35 p.m. at Heritage Bank Stadium. Lachie Neale, we are going to talk about Lachie Neale though, straight up.
Yes.
Has an average of 105.75 in his last 4 games against the Suns, 128, 108, 123, and 64. 128 coming earlier this season.
Yep. Very, very nice. He's definitely up there on my list of VC options. And we also have Josh Dunkley, and he scored a 153 in his last encounter here. And then he also scored prior to that 116, 148, and an 87 against Gold Coast for an average of 126. So, yeah, he's right up there. He returned in style. Well, relatively enough anyway, 115 that he scored on the weekend. So I do like him also as an option, especially without Ashcroft there. There's more slices of the pie, of the triple chili pie to go around if you are that way inclined.
There is. Now let's move on to some captaincy options.
Ooh.
Kick off on Saturday night. Essendon up against Sydney. Saturday, 7:25 p.m. at Marvel Stadium. And first up, we have Zachary Merritt. In his last 4 against the Swans, he has scores of 57, 140, 104, and 168 for an average of 117.25.
Don't mind him. His scoring's been a little bit down the past couple of weeks. It's almost like linked with Essendon's performance. Parish likewise as well, but we'll see how we go, and hopefully they can get the job done against Sydney and he can produce a nice score. But in terms of Sydney, we have Errol Goulden as another option. He's actually scored 130, 57, 66, and a 68 in his past 4 against the Dons for an average of 80.25. He would, again, be someone that a lot of people won't consider as an option, similar to Sicily on the weekend, because of the recency bias based off the poor score on the weekend. A lot of people won't have the confidence to go on him, but with a captaincy, I don't know if I could do it potentially. VC maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, if it was
Didn't
VC, I'd feel more comfortable. You'd have to
Yeah.
make sure you have a viable option for the C
Yep.
after this one. Moving on to the next game, and it is Adelaide up against Port Adelaide. The showdown at on Saturday at 7:40 p.m. at Adelaide Oval. But as Damo has suggested, and I say Damo, I mean Damien Barrett, we should be playing this at the MCG, the old showdown.
Yeah, get all the impartial observers there. Yeah. What a
Why
dickhead.
wouldn't we? Anyway, Jordan Dawson, he's oh wait, I skipped someone, sorry, in the Sydney game. We've got Callum Mills.
Oh, of course.
Bit of another C pod option.
Yeah.
He has an average of 117 against the Dons with scores of 167, 85, 87, and 129. Yeah, there's not much else to say about him at this stage.
Yep. No. Well, let's delve into that Adelaide v Port Adelaide game. And Jordan Dawson, he has scored in his past 4 against Port, 114, 123, 74, and a 111 for an average of 105.5.
Yes, and on the other side, Connor Rosie doesn't mind playing against against the Crows with scores of 126, 75, 162, and 96 in his last 4 for an average of 114.75. I have left out Rory Laird here.
Oh, yeah, we don't know if he's going
just
to
because we don't know, and it's probably a bit of a risk to jump
Too
on
much
him.
of a risk. Yep, exactly. I wouldn't be even
I wouldn't be
looking at
banking on him either.
No, 100%. There's other good options this week where you don't really have to rely on him. That's probably the other point. Let's move on to the next game, and it is Hawthorn up against St Kilda on Sunday at 1:10 p.m. at Marvel Stadium. And first up, we have this guy who I think should be 100% hands down the top captaincy VC option if you have him. Of
Don't
course.
tell everyone.
Oh, sorry. No one tunes into this
Just
anyway.
share
so
this
fine.
this is just a secret between you and me, Damien, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a secret between both of us and anyone that tunes in. So this is a bit of a treat to those people that tune in to this podcast and vodcast. Just don't spread the word, just between all of us. Shh. It is James Sicily. He scored, as we mentioned earlier, because the secret was out then. I think we just ranted and raved so much about him. But he scored 172, as we know, in their previous encounter this season. Then he scored a 113, 93, and a 119 for an average of 124.25. But really, it is his recent form line. The only thing I think that could go against him is if they try and tag him, if they saw what North did to him, and then seeing what he can produce again on the weekend when he went back to the intercept. I think he had like 10 plus intercept marks again, something ridiculous. But then I'm thinking, like, who plays on him that can play a forward role? Do they put Windhager on him? He's more of a traditional run with player. Can he be a, scraggly type?
He played
player?
half back last week.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I think off memory, pretty sure he played, more of a backline role.
But if I was to guess, I reckon, considering that Ross Lyon is an old school coach, I reckon he's quite stubborn. And I think he's going to back in his game plan and style hasn't changed all year. I reckon he's going to back in his own process, the team structure set up, and they'll just let him go about his merry way. I mean, they've got their own sort of, quarterback, as they call them, like coming out of defense in Sinclair. So, yeah, I think they'll be backing in their team defense because it's pretty much built upon defense at St Kilda. So, yeah, I think he's in for another big one.
I agree. On the other side of the field, though, we've got Jack Steele. Now, he scored 62 the last time these two faced off against each other, and I reckon it was in my side and I was crying. But he has also scored 125, 107, and 91 against the Hawks in his last 4 for an average of 96.25, but he is in some hot form at the minute. 150 on the weekend, 105 I think the week before that, and 140 or something.
40, yep.
The week before that. So in some good form. Bit of a risk, but one I think you can potentially take.
Yep. No, I like it.
As long as I don't bring him into my side. If I bring him into my side, do not captain him.
Steer clear. Yep, exactly. just be happy enough if he punches out a 100+ score, if that's the case.
Just be happy enough if he punches out a 60.
What he was averaging when he was in your team. He's going to pick up the slack again. Let's move on to the next player, and it is Rowan Marshall. 98. He scored most recently against against Hawthorn. Then he scored a 173 and an 86 for an average of 108.75. Although Ross Lyon mentioned that he was actually close to not playing, strangely enough. And they had on standby Tom Campbell. But it's quite funny because Marshall actually played almost the highest minutes of any game that he's played all season. So that makes absolutely no sense. He must have been juiced to the nines. Like,
it also just makes no sense
with
is. Like, I don't know. I don't trust Ross Lyon with what he says because he was also saying that Jack Steele was not injured.
Yeah,
and
true.
Like, Jack Steele was clearly injured. And I'm fairly certain another coach came out, like one of the assistants came out and said that Jack Steele had an injury. And then Ross Lyon was like, nah. Like,
don't believe him. He's an assistant coach. Don't believe him.
Like, seriously. Anyway.
Yeah, he speaks a lot of shit.
So, I don't know. Take it all with a grain of salt.
Yep.
But that being said, Reeves suspended for a match.
Oh, that's true. Very true.
So could benefit Marshall there. I don't know. It's all a bit of this, bit of that. I don't know. Which way do you go? Which way do you lean?
I don't even know who would come into their team. Like Meek, was he injured or was he suspended or omitted?
Meek was injured off memory.
Injured. Yeah.
But okay. I don't know how long it was. It was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Because a lot of their ruckmen are now. I was supposed to get the other bloke who they picked up the mid-season draft last year, I think it was. I can't recall his name. He could potentially come in. Yeah, who knows?
True.
But yeah, you're right. Yeah, could come up against a rookie.
Moving on. Last player in this game, it is Jack Sinclair, has an average of 104 against the Hawks with scores of 71, 135, 102, and 108, but is also coming off a 132 on the weekend. But again, I just think that if you're going to VC someone in this game, it has to be Sicily if you've got him.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Sorry, if you're going to see 100%. Someone, you're not going to VC on a Sunday at 110.
Yeah, well, you could potentially. You could.
Could you?
Because this next game, depends who you own. Because this next game is Richmond and Melbourne on Sunday at 3:20 p.m. at the MCG. And this is part of my plan, potentially. My grand plan.
Your plan.
And it involves this man as a backup option. And it's a bit of a risk. Albeit I wouldn't be keen on putting the captaincy on him. So I'd be hinging a lot of, I guess, faith in Sicily. But Christian Petrarca, he's scored in his last 4 against the Tigs, 104, 87, 133, and a 111 for an average of 108.75. So a bit of a mixed bag there. But that's pretty much the only thing. I mean, there's Timmy Taranto as well, maybe, but you wouldn't really have much trust in him SuperCoach wise. Maxi Gawn, maybe. He's the next guy we're talking about, Liam.
Yep. And he's a whopping average against the Tigers, 132.75, made up of games that with scores of 98, 123, 147, and 163. And keep in mind, assuming that Grundy doesn't come back in, he's going to be rucking solo, which will be closer to those 120s and 140s you'd expect from back when he was the solo ruck.
Rucking solo against Soldo as well. Soldo. What's the solo? You gotta crush a solo or whatever it is. I don't know. Can't recall. You got to crush a Soldo. So let's round out the round with the round. Jeez, I'm on fire here. With West Coast up against North Melbourne on Sunday at 4:40 p.m. Game of the round. What a way to the bookend. The bookend.
I really, just love to finish that they really consigned this game to the graveyard shift.
It really is a bookend. I mean, the first bookend we start with Collingwood v Carlton. End it with West Coast up against North
the other big rivals.
From here on out, vying for the number 1 pick, even though West Coast almost have it sewn up, if not already. So first up, we have LDU, as we spoke of with his form. His last 4 against North, 143, 27, which I think might have been an injury game, maybe, potentially.
I think so.
Then it was a 100 and a 93 for an average of 90.75.
If we
that
do
right there?
account for that 27,
Ah, yes.
it's 112.
112. There we go.
So a little bit nicer.
Yep. In good form.
Other option, Harry Sheasel. Chuck it all. Put it all on red.
Oh, this is uncharted territory. Although it could be for me.
On red.
What's he scored? What's he scored in his one game? 114.
But
coming
like
up at 126.
It's a different Eagles outfit. They're just worse. They're worse.
They're getting worse and worse.
And it's a different North outfit. They're just, I don't know, challenging somewhat.
Yes, they're challenging somewhat. This could be uncharted territory for me as we get into, I guess, a nice little segue to our captaincy head-to-head and who our best option is for this week. I think I am in uncharted territory because of the fact that, you know how we talk about, like, who puts the captain on anyone on a Sunday game, or let alone in the last game. This could be just new ground here, because I'm thinking of potentially putting the VC on Sicily one game on Sunday, and then if he spuds it up or doesn't meet expectations, putting the C on Petrarca in a second Sunday game. Do I do it?
Oh, will the first game even be finished?
So there's 2 hours and 10 minutes between, so no, it won't completely. So I'll have probably a snapshot of around about 3/4 to make an assessment.
Yeah,
maybe 3.5.
Idea. Yep.
So
rough.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
who has first pick this week?
Yes. I think. Is it me? Because the week prior,
the first pick when I should have picked English and I didn't.
Was that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, so I think it's my first pick.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I had the first pick last week.
So Damon, who would you like to pick?
What I like to pick, you know exactly. I just went through it. You have to. You got to.
I am going
100%.
to pick Jack Steele. No. I am going to pick. I mean, you can't go against him, can you?
No.
It's going to backfire badly if you didn't, I reckon.
Yeah.
James, the Sicilian.
Yep, that's the one.
Sicily.
And I remember last week, actually, you said you're backing in English. You think about something and you're like, no, just play the percentages. Go for English because he's going to score well. And it treated you well. You pipped me at the post.
Just
almost,
it was close
anyway.
one. Close one.
I went for Bont, who scored a 126, and you had English, as I said, you scored 134. So 8 points difference there, which meant the win-loss ratio is now, I'm at 10 wins, you're at 8. So it's tight here. This is almost the taking over the ultimate supremacy here. This could go either way. Yeah, so 188 is the margin between us. As I said, we've got 10 wins, you're on 8. So Liam, you've chosen Sicily and smart play. I'm going to go for I stuffed myself up because really I would have gone for Bont, which I can't do. So do I go back to the well? Do I go for English? English against Briggs. English has got that high floor. That's what I really like.
That's what's, yeah.
You know what? You go for the ceiling, don't you? because Sicily's
you put it
really
all on black with Harry Sheasel. That's exactly it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. How did you know? Let's go for some fun here. Let's go for Maxi Gorn. Lock it in, even though I truly like English.
What about
Let's
LGU?
go for Gorn. Oh shit. Now you've done me. You've really enlightened me here.
Who else has a good average? What about Josh Dunkley?
Nah, not Dunks.
Oh, come on, Dunks. 153 the last time they played.
Yeah, no, he scored well. He probably should pick up the slack. Ashcroft isn't in the team either. I wish I had a 3-sided coin to flip here. You know what?
So what are your options? What about Nick Dacos?
I do like Dacos. Because I don't think if there's anyone. Can I just split them across 4? Split it across 4 and just have a quarter of whatever they score. combined.
I have co-captains and I have vice co-captains, just in a leadership group.
Yeah, isn't that like Brisbane or Sydney? They've done that. They've got like 8 people in the leadership group, like half the list. No. I'll follow my heart. Listen to your heart, and I'll go back to the well with English. I like Gorn. I like LDU. I reckon they'll score well.
We went a long way around there.
Yeah, just around the world, and we're back at the start.
All right.
So here we are.
So just every second week, we should not ask you. Just every second week, we're just going to give you English.
English, exactly. Just because he scored so well again, like as you would have seen firsthand against the Dons. Like I thought, okay, well in the ruck, Andrew Phillips, I know firsthand being a former Blue, he performs quite well on the ruck, but around the ground is where he was going to be beaten. That ended up happening. But even then, I think it was really only the last quarter, maybe quarter and a half of the third quarter, where he actually scored well. And I was surprised that he actually scored 134. Again, it's like the Bont. What do you call it?
Yeah.
Not the tax, the
subsidy.
Subsidy. That's virtually what it is. I don't know what Champion Data are doing. Lipstick action on the knees, all that sort of stuff. Like it's incredible. But I wasn't complaining as a VC man. So let's go back to the well. Champion Data, treat us well. So Liam, do you want to introduce the next segment?
Got a question, Damon. A question that I got to know.
Hey, I got to know.
So not only you have got to know, our listeners and viewers do as well, because we have a few questions sent in here. And, of course, I got to know for those people tuning in for the first time. We throw it open to you, the good folk of the SuperCoach Edge community, as we answer your burning questions. So, Liam, do you want to answer the first question, or at least read it out? You can answer. You can have a first crack.
This question comes from Le Grand Trois, I want to guess. Le Grand Trois. At It's Captain Koala. I love when people's like handles and their like
don't match.
Display names just don't make any sense to me. He asks, or she, better to use Wardlaw to go sideways to Hewitt, or downgrade to rookie and use cash to go Walsh up to top tier primo, or just go Walsh to Butters and save a trade. He has probably prioritizing overall, but 500 points ahead in cash league, so tempted to go for the double.
Oh, you just cut out there. I think you said so they've got 3 trades left and they're prioritizing overall, but 500 points ahead in cash league, so tempted to go for the double.
Yeah.
So Liam, what are your initial thoughts there?
It's a lot to unpack there.
Break it down. So Walsh to Butters.
Walsh to Butters. Butters looks a little bit injured.
Cooked.
Yeah. And so I worry a little bit about that. I don't think I'd go Walsh straight to Butters.
No.
If you have the cash, potentially Walsh to Steele, I don't mind. Walsh to Doherty I like as well, but that's going to cost you a little bit. Walsh to LDU, another good one, but you probably have to you probably have to do a downgrade there. So Walsh to Butters is probably third on my list. Wardlaw to Hewitt, I don't mind. Probably second on my list.
Yep. So they're saying they're like the trade.
There's 3 options,
Wardlaw to Hewitt. They could potentially just use that one trade, couldn't they? To
I
go
think that's
Wardlaw
their point,
to Hewitt,
yeah.
which is what we spoke of earlier.
They've essentially got 3 options that they're going for. One is Wardlaw to Hewitt, and that's it.
Yep.
The second one is a downgrade of a rookie and then Walsh up to a top tier primo, or Walsh to Butters.
Yep.
Those are your 3 options.
So what were you ranking, sorry?
So I'm just kind of ranking those 3 options.
Yeah.
So I would go, the top option to me is probably, it's 50-50, I reckon, between Wardlaw and Hewitt. Wardlaw to Hewitt, and a rookie and a rookie and Walsh up to a top tier primo and a downgrade. That's 50-50 to me, because I think it's just going to depend on it depends whether you think you're going to get more points out of Walsh to a top tier primo long term. So when Walsh returns, is it beneficial having him? Maybe. But you're still going to have 2 trades up your sleeve. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think, so I'm going around in circles here. I think what I bet, the benefit of the first one, Wardlaw to Hewitt, straight to Hewitt, to me is the fact that you're going to be saving a trade. You have 2 trades left after that.
Yep.
And you'll still have Walsh up your sleeve when he comes back.
Yep.
And you've got Hewitt on the pine. I think I'd lean towards that one now.
Yeah, personally, I'd be going for that, I think. Although it really does depend on how much cash you'd have to use to upgrade Walsh to a top-tier primo. If, say, for example, it was going to give you enough cash to bring in, say, a Sicily, if you had like a Doherty in defence, you could swing into Walsh's spot and then bring in a Sicily in defence, I'd 100% go down that route. But again, that's kind of up in the air. That's devil's advocate because we don't know how much cash you would have to splash.
And what your team looks like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. If you could afford to do it. So if you're not in that position, I would probably go Wardlaw to Hewitt and assess. I mean, we've already got a small sample size, albeit one game on the weekend with Hewitt, and it was against the Bunnies in West Coast. But yeah, it shows that he can score quite well, almost rivaling what he scored last year. At least that's a bit of a sample size last year in itself when he was playing pretty much the same role. So I would pretty much go Wardlaw to Hewitt, hold off for as long as you can, hold the other 2 trades. If other injuries crop up, suspensions, all that other stuff, if they don't, then you could even just hold the cash if you have any excess cash to then use towards other injuries if any crop up. But if not, then just hold and away you go. Or you could even just execute that secondary rookie downgrade and then upgrade down the track if need be. Who knows? But I think Hewitt can score well enough. That's kind of the roundabout way of me saying that as a bit of a fill-in option.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yep. They mentioned as well in a follow-up tweet, obviously doing Warlord to Hewitt last week would have been better, but I used up my time travel boost already. It's actually very good from you. Like that.
Can you just tell us where to get some of those time travel boosts?
Exactly. Where you get some of those time travel boosts. Got like withdrawals. Wardlaw as well. What is he priced at just quickly? 296?
296.5. So it's pretty much a straight swap.
Yeah, you'd make 4K profit actually. Yeah. So still, we're discounting that. You obviously missed out on 127 points, but would you have used it? Maybe if they've got Laird, who knows? But Walsh still punched out the 109. So you're maybe not losing out too much given that on retrospect. So I wouldn't be too hard on yourself, but now still the chance to do it. So there we go.
I'm considering it now more than I was Wardlaw to Hewitt, and keeping Walsh because I think it just gives you an extra player when you've got no trades left.
Yep.
The normal play would be to just trade Walsh up to a primo, but now I'm kind of like, this is another option where you almost get to get a primo plus a decent scorer.
Yeah, exactly. I'm confident he can knock on wood anyway that he comes back 2 to 3 weeks. But yeah, if not, at least you've got Hewitt. As I mentioned, discussions about Hewitt and Walsh, the correlation there. So at the very least, there should be an uptick in scoring with Hewitt as a because I mean he's not a primo, but as we always talk about, it's from how they score on the run home, how they average from here on out.
You don't have to worry about their price means nothing. It's what their points are.
Yep. 100%. So let's round it out with the last question that was sent in, and it is a very similar question, really. No surprise with regards to Walsh. Brad Dorr, or Dow? Dorr? We'll say Dorr. At Brad Dorr 4. I guess that rhymes, so yep, makes sense. So he asks, best trade-out option for Walsh, 555K to spend, so a little bit more pointed there. Again, don't know how many trades they have in hand, though. So probably less information that's provided. Yeah.
All right. I think assume that they've got one trade based off that.
Okay.
No reason, but just...
Yep. Let's just go with that.
You kind of say you got 555K to spend. Yes, to me, that suggests you got one trade.
Yep. Well, in that case, it means they've only got 20K in the bank. There's no real reason, I think, for them to, unless they've got someone like a Fife or another player they wouldn't be able to upgrade a Chin Connor if they've still got him. You could trade a Matt Johnson potentially if they've got them down to Hewitt to fill in for Walsh again if you want to go down that path, or a Seamus Mitchell or one of those guys on the cusp. But a 555, I don't know. That's a tough one, isn't it?
It is. I'm just trying to. My SuperCoach is glitching, and I'm trying to get the prices up.
Yeah, they could go for Butters, but again, don't like him. Don't like Jack McRae. Don't like Caleb Daniel.
Yeah.
Paddy Cripps coming back from injury, so no, even though he's recaptured form.
Go with Jack Sinclair.
Yeah, if they don't have him. Yep.
If you don't have him, that's probably your best bet.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Yeah, 555K is kind of just
no man's land, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. If Butters wasn't injured or even though he played out the game, but went into that game with a suspect groin, apparently. So I wouldn't be trusting him with 5 games to go, with especially if this is your last trade. Yeah, I like that. I like that point. If he doesn't have Sinclair, 100% go down that route. He's
probably the only thing I can really see that makes sense. Jack McRae's the only other one that I'm probably the next best.
Yeah, but even then, yeah.
But even then, I'm not sold on him.
Yep. Well, that is pretty much it. Let's end it there. Let us know, Brad Dorr, anyway, if that helps or if there's anything you can provide in terms of some extra info that we can help you with. So before we wrap things up, though, let's run through our SuperCoach Edge Cup group results after round 19.
Yes, our SuperCoach Edge Cup public group carrier leader is, again, carryover leader, Adam, with his team all too hard yet again. An overall rank of 14th, which means he went up 1 spot, so is positioned very nicely on the run home. And the top scorer, Damon, for the round was...
It was me. Gee whiz. Round score of 2,782, unless it's someone else with my name and same team name. That's strange.
Same rank.
Yeah, same rank. Round rank of 19th overall, so... tip of the cap to you, wherever you are tuning in.
Tip of the cap to Damon. And in terms of the Patreon exclusive group, the leader is yet again T Prostitutes
Who
Inc.
else?
Jonas Goat. Yet again. Who else could it be?
I'm coming for you, Jonas.
I
called it last week. I called it last week.
2,598, and he is an overall rank of 222.
Interesting.
What are you, Damon?
I am 492.
Okay.
So my total score is 43321.
Yeah.
And he's 43506. So about 185 points away from him. I'm coming for you, T. Oh, sorry. And the top scorer.
Who is it?
Another familiar name. It was Damon with his team DJ Trade a lot. I hate talking in the third person, with a score of 2,782. Whoever you are.
That person.
That person, great score, mate. All the best. Yes. All the best for reaching for the top 100 if you are.
Go. Keep going.
You.
And in terms of our Patreon exclusive SuperCoach Edge Cash League, the results looked a little bit like this. Dylan, with his team Papa Ball FC, scored 2,396, but he was defeated by Damon, yourself. DJ Trade a lot, 2,782, so a bit of a walloping there, unfortunately, for
Small
Dylan. Win. Scott Arthur, Black on White, he scored 2,533, defeating Ton 618 Matthew with a score of 2,487. Myself, my team, I scored 2,569 and was defeated by the Sharpshooters 2,640, and I am filthy. And rounding us out here, Peter with his team Tankers, he has jumped up 3 spots. Sorry, we're going to talk about that later. Sorry, 2,550, defeating Carps Crushers Wade 2,433rd.
ramifications across the board here.
Absolutely.
From Pistol Pete, Peg Leg Pete, whatever you want to call him, Triple Chili Pete. He was holding up the ladder. Well, let's see where he is now as we go through the ladder here. So my team, or that person, Damon, whoever he is, with his team, DJ Trade a Lot, is in the Iron Throne at the moment on 15 wins, ahead of the Sharpshooters in second spot. Brett on 14 wins. In third spot is Ton 618, Matthew, aka Emper, on 9 wins. Black on White on 8 wins in fourth spot. Scott Arthur there. And Pete, Pistol Pete Tankers, he has catapulted himself from the bottom to now sit in fifth spot with 7 wins and ahead on total points scored overall, ahead of Carps Crushers Wade, also on 7 wins. And then Liam, we've got yourself in 7th spot. Hardly done by here. Very, very hard done by. 6 wins, but ahead on points overall, of course, no doubt, because you've scored.
I've got the 4th most points for this league.
Ridiculous.
Filthy. And I was actually, while we were talking before, I'd look at all of my other leagues, and like I think three or four of them out of like the 10 or whatever I'm in, I have the most points against, or the second most points against. It's like all of them. Like, seriously, what is going on?
One of those years when it comes to leagues, honestly.
Anyways.
Yes, and then rounding us out, of course, is Poppable FC, holding up the ladder. He's taken over from Pete. He's like, you just earn yourself a break. Let me hold it up. It is Poppable FC, Dylan, and he is also on 6 wins, but behind you on points scored overall, as we mentioned, so no surprise there. But Liam, that brings us to the end of this episode. But before we go, where can our listeners find us across our socials?
Yes, on YouTube, search SuperCoach Edge, and don't forget to like and subscribe on X or Twitter, whatever it's called nowadays.
Whatever Elon wants to call it.
Yeah, whatever Elon changes his name, mine too, tomorrow. At SuperCoach_Edge is where you'll find us. Damon at DamoJ88, myself at Liam Evans _95. But I mean, for all these Elon Musk jokes I'm making, I'm probably going to get shadow banned, so no point looking me up. And Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, search SuperCoach Edge, and you'll find us there.
Yep. And
I bow down to our overlord, Elon Musk.
And I, for one, welcome our new insect overlords.
And as we speak, your tweets are saying they're limited. That's strange. Amazing. But as always, if you love the content we provide, make sure to let us know by subscribing to our YouTube channel and help us in our pursuit of hitting 1K by the end of the season. I think we've ticked over now to 901. So we need 99 subscribers to push us over the edge, really. Well, yeah, if you can help us, of course, get to that 1K subscriber mark, that would be absolutely fantastic, because help us help you in a way to, we'll be celebrating with a giveaway. So, and it's going to be a big one, of course, a big milestone. So help us get there if you can. Just hit the little subscribe button below. And if you are listening to us on the podcast, make sure to jump across to YouTube, give us a subscribe via YouTube, and yeah, help us along our way. And we'll give you a, I don't know, love, just virtual love, as much love as we can give, more love than what we give Elon Musk anyway. So that's not hard.
What are you talking about? More for Elon Musk.
Yes, we love Elon Musk. He is the greatest. Beep, boop. Speaking of which, sorry, before we sign off, I just want to mention, this is by the way, the state of humanity. Now, I know this podcast, and a lot of people are probably tuned out by now, but we're probably talking about less and less SuperCoach, but which is fine. We can, like, if you like it, then it become more of a lifestyle.
It's also our podcast, so we can do what we like.
Exactly right. Elon, do you hear us? But there's some trend I'm not on TikTok, and thank God, because the brains are turning to mush now. But apparently there's a trend. Get this, where people are sending, and you can like send in virtual tokens or whatever, and it's virtual cash. So content creators out there are now being paid by randos that have like really random kinks, where they pretend to be NPCs, like, you know, game character, non-playable characters, NPCs. So like in GTA, for example, like someone on the street, you know, they say like all these catchphrases and stuff, like you punch them, they punch you back, all that sort of stuff. They are pretending to be NPCs and be robots. So like there's one I've seen where apparently it's a common thing. A lot of them do it. There's a girl like gifted an ice cream, a virtual ice cream, and she's like,
ice cream so good. Ugh.
And literally that's all it is. They say catchphrases in like a robotic voice, like they dress up in outfits and they're getting paid for this. What
We
is
wonder
happening
why.
to the human race?
But do we wonder why inflation is so high? Like, seriously.
Stop spending
Bloody hell.
and giving it to people that
Cost of
then spend it on
living
other shit.
crisis, and we're paying for this.
My God. And, you know, we spoke about like kinks when we were talking about the triple chili pie. Like we should have signed off, I mean, about 5 minutes ago, but talking about kinks, about like smushing your feet into triple chili pies, I see that as more logical, more normal compared to this.
Really? Oh, yeah. Actually,
What is this? Wow.
I still don't get it. It's weird.
It's incredible. That's one word for it. But anyway, Liam, we've overstayed our welcome here. So thank you as always for tuning in, and all the best for the round ahead. And we'll catch you same time, same place. We'll see you then.
See you guys. Love you, Elon.
That ice cream is very nice. Love you.